I would say that this cradle, this grain cradle, it probably dates, I just can't imagine much after 1870s, because they were so, many of these were made, in factories. Though, again, you always had, the exceptions to the rules. You always had craftsmen in areas who continued doing things by hand because they existed, the craftsmen existed. So he would continue to make things when store-bought items were coming into their area. So these homemade things, these handmade things continued on, even though you really couldn't compete. I'm so interested in all of it. But again, I like to clean things up, because so many times, you find names, you can see construction techniques. Clean up something, and it's amazing what's hidden sometimes. Yeah, this is just basically some laundry detergent that I melted. You look at these things, and I'm just one of these people for details, and I really study and look and think, man, that's a great way to make something. That's a great way to accomplish. And I really admire, the craftsmanship and the skill and the trouble that they would go to do that. So I'd go to a flea market with a Boy Scout bag. Somebody dump out a pile of stuff that they'd gathered it from a building that was falling in, maybe. And you'd say, what do you want? Dime, nickel, quarter, 50 cents. And man, I'd just load up, because I knew that it was all forged. It represented this era that I'm so interested in, when everything's self-sufficient. And I didn't care what, I didn't care if it was a nail, if it was homemade. These things just got forgotten. They throw them up in the rafters. That's how they survived, because it sure had nothing to do with value. It had nothing to do with something being, quote, valuable. There may have been some, sentimental attachment because great-grandma had used it. But when that generation dies off that knew great-grandma, it's gone. Nobody knows that anymore. The sentimentality doesn't tend to get passed around from one generation. So I find, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But here it is. Here's the den of iniquity. No, this is the building that has allowed me to squirrel away my stuff. These old chairs have fascinated me to no end. You used to find them, you still can at auctions, not like you did though. They went for nothing. You get them for $1, they'd pile them up, and maybe the whole pile would go for $4 or $5. Well, I'd be looking at them and I'd say, gee whiz, these are not factory-made chairs, these are homemade. And they were as varied aesthetically as the human beings that made them. Everybody had their idea of how high they should be, how wide the seat should be, how tall the back should be. And that just started, fascinating me. And a lot of these chairs I know who made. See on the side of it, that's the maker of it, and da-da-da-da-da. So if the stuff ends up in California, at least some info will go with it. I don't know why that's important, but I guess to me it somewhat is. The variety of them, they just caught my eye to see how many variations, I just kept finding them. The factory versions, of course, start being produced, and nobody makes anything by hand anymore. It's another example of how people are put out of an occupation, because you can buy it at a store and you don't go to the blacksmith and have him make it anymore. This is my Fred Flintstone hammer. Well. This looks like the mouth of Hades. So lots of times I'll heat it up and turn it back to basically what it would have looked like when it came out of the forge. Dark, kind of a blackish blue. Needs a cap on it. I'm real tempted to try to shape that. Really tighten the top and large in the bottom. I tried to even think, well, I'll keep something all rusted just to show, and I can't do it. I'm just so in that one collection over there of all those fixtures that had come from mowing size. There's one real old rusty one. That's the only one I've left. It's like, I can't stand to see things like that. Again, it's not the original intent. If it was partially, oh, look at that, man, that turned out really good. Check that out. Like I said, when you get down in here, if you know all this stuff, it becomes interesting. Oh, now let's check. Oh boy, typical me. I'm always dirty. Yeah, I was telling you a while back, I said, you know, when I was a kid, I read the story Robinson Crusoe, and then I've seen the movie, you know, and it really impressed upon me what he did. He was shipwrecked, and his ship did not sink for quite a while. Well, he figured, you know, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere on this island, and I'm going to go back to that ship and get all the provisions that will keep me living and necessities that I need as long as I'll be able to survive on this island. And so he built him a raft, you know, and he'd go in the movie, you know, he goes back and forth, and he gets the guns and he gets the black powder, and then eventually a storm comes in and sinks the ship, you know, with whatever he didn't get off of it. So that's kind of been a mantra or a theory of mine, you know, or a philosophy, to do the same thing. The things that I'm interested in, which are these old early things, I knew they were still out there, and it was a matter of positioning or by luck or however it is that I have been able to find and bring these things, you know, back and kind of keep them in a state of preservation. And no one lives forever. And for the thing that impresses me, so that something that is always foremost in my mind, and I'm so aware of, is how temporal we are as a human. This stuff shows it right here. You know, my theory is, well, you know, enjoy these things, clean them up. They'll be passed on to someone. I told my son one time, I said, you know what'll probably happen to all my collections? They'll end up in a Cracker Barrel restaurant. Have you ever been in a Cracker Barrel, Zoe? They don't even make such a thing as this anymore.